Good morning.
Good morning.
As part of the Holland Park transformation, we will be conducting a series of interviews that will become a part of History Hill, which is in the center of that entire complex. And so today we will be discussing your experiences as a student at the West Ward Elementary School. So to begin, why don't you just state your name and tell us when you attended.
My name is Gordon Davidson, and I attended West Ward School in 1938. I went to kindergarten at Dalrymple in 1937. And prior to starting school, I went to nursery school at West Ward. West Ward only had 3 teachers. And I went to nursery school. Then after nursery school, I went to Dalrymple. And then in 38, I started kindergarten at West Ward. And at West Ward, my mother's sister was a teacher at West Ward.
And her name?
Mattie Howard Vest. And my aunt, she taught at West Ward until 1945, and she moved to Battle Creek, and she was the second black teacher in the Battle Creek school system.
Okay.
She eventually ended up being principal at Dudley Elementary School there in Battle Creek.
Okay. Did you have older brothers or sisters that
I had
attended?
one brother that went to, he started at Austin. We lived on the corner of Washington and Eden. And my mother didn't want me to go to Austin because of the railroad tracks.
Okay.
The trains used to run up and down there on Eden Street. So instead of going to Austin, I went to West Ward.
When you went to school, walked to school, did you?
I walked to school.
Did you walk alone, or were you with friends?
My neighbors, Bud Furkey, and Virginia, and Jackie. Virginia worked at the school. Virginia, she SIG worked.
Okay.
And Virginia worked at Alvin High School. And Donna Rosenbrook, her dad was a fireman. Donna and Virginia and Jackie and Bud used to take me to school when I was going to Dalrymple.
Okay. And when you switched to West
And I
Ward?
was switched to West Ward. It was just me and my brother because my sister was younger.
Okay. All right, good. What I'd like for you to do is give me an example of what a routine day would be like for you at school. You know, just walk me through what you would do on a regular day.
Well, going to West Ward, the teachers, they taught two classes. So while she would be teaching one class, this is like my aunt, she taught 1st and 2nd grade.
Okay.
So she taught half of the class. She taught the 1st grade, and then she taught the 2nd grade in the same classroom. So when she was teaching the other grade, we would be doing something else. You know, she would have us doing something else.
What? Okay, good.
But I was handicapped behind the fact that my aunt was my teacher.
Yeah.
So I had to be on my very best behavior. And I mean, I behaved.
Yeah. I would experience that when I was in 4th and 5th grade with my aunt who was teaching Miss Ferguson. Yeah. Okay. So who were all of the teachers that you had while you were at West Ward? If you can.
I had Miss Ferguson and Miss Holmes.
Is that about 6th grade, Miss Holmes? Is that 6th grade?
Yeah.
Okay.
6th grade was Miss Holmes taught the 6th and 5th grade.
Okay.
And Miss Ferguson taught the 3rd and 4th. And my aunt taught the 1st and 2nd.
Okay.
Because we didn't have no kindergarten at first. I think kindergarten came there when Miss Biggs got out of college and came there.
Okay. What, do you have any special memories connected with any of your teachers or associated with some special activity that they did in their room?
That they did in their room?
Yeah.
Well, we used to have to recite. I washed my hands this morning and I've done this and done that, you know.
Yeah.
And,
Okay.
yeah. We went through that routine every morning in school.
Okay. Did you ever witness any kind of discipline being administered to kids?
Yeah.
What would that consist of?
Miss Ferguson used to have a little rubber, thick rubber, like a switch light.
Mm-hmm.
And she kept that under her desk. And if you got down wrong, you had to put your hand out there, you know.
Yeah. Okay. Any others?
And she would smack your hand, you know.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's switch to something a little different and broaden it. What about other staff? You have any impressions other than Miss Holmes, the principal, like the janitors?
And Mr. Sweet used to serve breakfast sometime down in the basement part.
Okay.
Mr. Sweet, I can remember that oatmeal. Man, that oatmeal had lumps in it. I hated it.
Yeah.
I hated oatmeal.
Okay. And they served that in the basement?
They used to serve that.
Is it every day?
Oh, not every day.
But... Okay. What about visiting teachers? Were there like music or art teachers who came from the high school? How did that work for you?
Chase Hammond was the city recreation director at that time. And Miss Rummagoon was the school nurse. And Miss Ham was the music teacher. When I was there, we didn't have an art teacher that visited.
Okay. Any substitute teachers?
Yeah. We had Miss Thompson, Miss Ida Thompson. And we had Miss Weatherford. Albert
Yeah.
Hawkins.
Hawkins then, yeah.
And she used to be a sub. And Miss Mary Vest, she subbed for a while, and then she became a regular teacher. I think she became a regular teacher after my aunt got pregnant, and she taught there for a while.
Did you have any contact with any of the staff or teachers outside of the school?
Oh, we used to go. Miss Ferguson's niece and nephew. I think she had 2 nephews that lived in Saline.
Yes.
And they used to come down, and Miss Ferguson would have us over to her house. Ruth Holland and my sister and
Your sister was Donna Jean?
Donna Jean.
Yeah.
And said be Bessie would be there.
Mm-hmm.
Bessie and John and Miss Ferguson would entertain us, you know.
Yeah.
And we used to look at those slides. You know.
Yes. Yes.
And she used to have that record player with the round.
A Victrola?
Yeah, Victrola.
Yeah.
With the records were round on a spool like.
On a spool. Oh, that's real
Yeah.
cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. In terms of school activities, like outdoors, at recess, sports, do you remember those kinds of things?
Yeah, we used to. They had a chain on a post and they had a round hook, you know, on the chain, and we used to get on that
And swing
around, you know, in a circle, and that was over by Cass Street, on the corner of Cass and Albion.
Okay.
We used to play on that a lot. And in the wintertime, we used to slide down Dalrymple Street, the parsonage, Reverend Steele's parsonage,
Yeah.
across the street. And we used to slide down that hill
From Cass
towards
down to
Washington
Washington.
Street.
Yeah. Okay. What about the parties? Let's talk like Halloween parties or celebrating Thanksgiving or anything like that. Do you recall those kinds of things?
In the 5th grade, 5th and 6th grade, one of the fraternities from the college, Miss Holmes would pick out so many boys, and they would come get us, take us up to one of the fraternity houses up at Albion College, and they would all have gifts for us, and they would serve refreshments, and we would play games, and we had a nice time. Albion College was really good to us, you know.
Good. Okay, let's talk about conditions a little at the school. When you were outside playing, do you remember like smelling smoke or something from the gale or anything blowing over into the playground like at recess? Or not?
I can't remember. The Malvo whistle would go off, and Gale would go off. And back then it was dirt road. You know, Washington Street was dirt road. Because I lived on the corner of Eden and Washington.
Mm-hmm.
And those cars used to come up. You would see the dust flying, you know.
Yeah, from the cars. Okay. In the school, were there clubs? I know, like we had safety patrol.
That's what we had.
You had safety
Safety
patrol.
patrol.
Were there other?
And then we had a student council from each grade. My aunt was in charge of the student council. And on the student council, Alan Jackson, Boozy, Hilda Miller,
Yeah.
Wright,
Yeah.
and Barbara Foster,
Oh yeah.
and Frederick Tucker. We all were the student council.
Okay. In addition to what you did within the school, did you participate in activities with students from other schools? And what were those?
Softball. We would play Gardner Grades, Durham, and Austin. And that used to be in the spring, spring of the year.
Yeah.
We would compete.
Did you have? I know when I went through, we had a 5th grade camp. Did they have a 5th grade?
They had a camp that went to Bow Creek.
Yeah. Clear Lake?
Or
is it different?
Gull Lake, I think.
Gull Lake. Okay.
Yeah.
And they brought kids from all the schools in Albion to that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, how was that?
But I never did go.
Okay.
Because my folks didn't have the money.
Okay.
See? And
now, go ahead.
some of the kids in our class, about 2 or 3 of the kids, went,
Mm-hmm. Okay. Did in terms of the adults in your family, did they work like at the Malibu or the Gale or where?
My grandfather worked at the Malibu, and all my uncles worked at the Malibu. And my dad worked at the Malibu, and my grandfather worked at the Malibu.
Okay.
My mother's 2 older brothers and my grandfather, they financed my aunt's way to college,
Okay.
to Michigan State Normal, which is now Eastern Michigan.
Okay.
So my aunt lived down in Ipsy. She went to school, she went to Michigan Normal, and then she got her master's at the University of Michigan.
Okay. All right, getting back to West Warren, what do you remember about lunch? Did you eat it at school? Did you go home?
I went home. Every week, it would be a funeral at Bethel. Back in those days, Albion didn't have sewage plant. Raw sewage used to go in the Kalamazoo River back then. And blacks were dying. It was quite a few that suffered from tuberculosis back then. And we would leave the school at lunchtime. We would run down to Bethel. The funeral director would bring the body. We didn't know who it was, but we would go down there anyway.
Yeah.
And go in there and look and view the body. That was when word would get around in school,
Yeah.
and everybody would,
Now, would you stop there on the way home for lunch, or would you eat food at the church?
we would go down before lunch.
Okay. All right. This is one I hope you've heard. Do you remember any scary stories that they used to tell us to keep us from hanging out around the school at night. When we were kids, there was a story about an old lady and her pigs. That if we were caught up there in the evening, we would be chased away. Did you ever hear any tall tales like that as a kid?
No, I never.
Okay. Let's talk about the building itself. In terms of the atmosphere of the building, to you, was it bright, cheerful, or dark? Was it comfortable? How do you recall that?
It was comfortable. Whenever they would have assembly or something, we would go in that one vacant room. We would line up in the hallway, the little hallway, and they would march us into the one classroom.
You remember what some of those assemblies were about?
Dr. Curtis used to come up when I was going to school. He was going to Alvin College then.
Right. Okay. What about the building itself? I mean, I know as a kid, you may not have paid that much attention, but the condition of the building, did you ever notice anything that needed like repair or something broken for a long time or anything like that?
Mr. Sweet, he kept the building up.
Okay. We've heard many stories as adults about receiving secondhand books. Were you aware of that as a kid?
When I was going to Westport, yeah, we used to get the secondhand books. When I was going there.
Okay. You mentioned going into the basement for breakfast. Do you recall anything else about what was in that basement? Or were there paintings on the walls or anything like that?
I can't recall anything like that.
Okay. Let's talk about the closing of the school. I know I had finished and had gone on to junior high, and I know you were gone from Westward by the time. Were you aware of the fact that there were protests or that parents were talking about keeping their students home just before the closing of the school?
Because see, I left there in '45.
Yeah.
And I didn't hear anything about anything like that.
Okay. Okay. As you look back on your whole experience at Westward, how did you feel about the school?
Looking back over it, it was staffed wrong. It should have been a teacher for each grade. Blacks' parents weren't educated enough. I mean, a lot of your parents didn't even finish high school. And back then, a lot of kids at home, they didn't have electricity. They had the kerosene lanterns. And you couldn't study, right? And then also back then it was outhouses. We didn't have everything,
Right. The school had its inside bathroom.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was, I think about it, we just didn't have everything. I mean, when I was coming up, they would have they would have a refreshment day on Friday. And you had to have your nickel. Nickel was a big deal, you know. And you would have to have your nickel in on Wednesday. Nick Confectionery downtown by the bone next to the Bone TA, right? He would take the orders and he would fix these ice cream bars. It'd be on a stick, you know.
Yeah.
And he would deliver them on Friday. And the kids, a lot of us kids didn't have that nickel.
Right.
And we would have to sit up there and watch the other kids, you know,
Yeah.
the kids did that.
Did you have any kind of nutrition break that was a part of the school's routine, like during the course of the day?
We had milk in the morning. Sometimes, one week we would have chocolate, and then we would have white milk, you know.
Okay. So, when you left West Ward to go to junior high, how did you feel about leaving the school and going up to the junior high?
Well, when I was at West Ward, my aunt had me held back in the 4th grade. Miss Ferguson was going to pass me to the 5th grade. And my aunt said no. And I'm glad my aunt said no. She had me in our reunion, and I think Jack Birch, and I think she had a couple girls. But when I left West Ward and went to junior high in the 7th grade, I didn't know A from apple butter. The majority of the kids at West Ward didn't graduate in their right grade. I bet you 90% of the kids that went to West Ward, when I went to West Ward, they didn't come out in their right grade.
But they eventually finished.
They finished, but they weren't in their right grade. I could name a whole bunch of them that wasn't in it. You know,
They were behind.
They were behind. And I didn't start digesting academics until I was about in 9th grade. I don't think they should have made West Ward. Personally, that's the way I've always felt that way about West Ward School.
Made it. Do you mean built the school, or made it an all-black school, or
Building that school, the way they built it, I mean, it was a ripoff.
There were 4 rooms?
4 rooms.
And where were the coat rooms? They had coat rooms?
Yeah, in the back part of the classroom.
Okay.
There was a coat room.
And you would go out the door that faced Dalrymple, because that's where the swings were?
The swings Well, we had the one door on the back side towards Cass and Albion.
Right.
They kept that locked.
Okay.
It was locked all the time. You went out the front towards Dalrymple Street,
Right.
and then you ran around. And you ran around the other side of Washington Street. I think they had swings there.
Yeah, out the front door.
Yeah.
To the left.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember, especially in the fall, when you would go out that door like for recess, there were trees when you went down the steps towards Dalrymple? Do you remember the trees being there? With golden yellow leaves in the fall, maple trees, I think. Do you remember having?
I can't remember.
Okay. What else besides swings were out to play on?
Teeter totter.
Teeter totter, okay.
You know, they used to use West Warwick for recreation too in the summertime.
Okay, let's talk about that a little bit. What do you recall?
They used to have dances on Thursday night. But they used to have
Now, were those inside or outside?
outside.
They call those street dances?
They called it a street dance.
Yeah,
And it was in front of the parsonage.
okay.
Mr. Sadger would set up he would come from the junior high. And Mr. Sadger would set up the speakers,
Mm-hmm.
and they would play music, and we would dance, we'd dance.
In the streets, yeah.
Street dance. And everybody used to look forward to the street dance. The kids from Jackson and Bow Creek used to come over.
Because that was in the evening.
Yeah, in the evening.
Any final memories you want to share with us?
Oh yeah, when Miss Weatherford used to sub all, she used to sub quite a bit. And when Dick would be home from the service,
Yeah.
Dick would be on furlough. They weren't married then, and he used to stop by the school to see Miss Weatherford, Miss Hawkins at that time.
Yeah.
And we would be mad and
Oh, yeah.
while all us boys, we used to be hot boys. When old Dick would stop by there to see her.
Would he come in uniform?
Yeah, he'd have that uniform on.
Yeah.
I remember that real well.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you for coming in and sharing with us.
Thank you
And this will
for having me.
be an important part of the history.
I want to ask one question. After you finished school, did you finish on at the high school?
Yeah,
And
I finished at Alvin High School.
do you have a graduation year?
Yeah. I graduated in 1951.
1951.
Yeah.
So after graduation, you went on to...
I worked at Union Steel for a while, and I was drafted. I went in the Army in November 1952. I was stationed at, I went in at Fort Custer in Bow Creek, and then I went to, I left there. I came through Alvin on the troop train, that was exciting. To look down Superior Street, and then I went to Fort Knox, and we got at Fort Knox that night, and we had to go in the train station for orientation to be assigned to our company, and we had our duffel bags with all our clothes and everything. And you had to remember where you put your duffel bag. And so me and my buddy of mine, the guy I met at Fort Custer, we stayed together for 2 years. And we put our bags down and we counted the rows and counted across. So when we came out when we got assigned to the same company. I got assigned to C Company 122 at Fort Knox. And Buckley, my buddy, he got assigned to the same company. And my cousin, he got assigned to a different company. And I took basic training at Fort Knox. And when I finished basic training, I was transferred to the Army Medical Research Lab. And I didn't have a medical MOS, a job description. So the captain out of my basic training company, he picked 10 guys to go to medical field service school. And my friend Buckley, Lawrence Buckley, he was from River Rouge. The two of us, it was 10 of us, 2 blacks and 8 white. And he sent us to Burke Army Medical Hospital in San Antonio, Texas, to medical field service school. And they told us we were on detached service from Fort Knox. And my boss was a civilian at the Army Medical Research Lab, Dr. Walker. Dr. Walker talked to us before we left, and he said, "Now, we're sending you to school to get a medical MOS. We were gone for 4 months." He said, "Now, if you goof up, we're going to put you back in the Army Division. So if you want to stay in the medics, tech service unit, you better pass that course." Everybody passed the course. Because then nobody want to go to Korea, right, at the time. And we came back to Fort Knox, and we helped with other basic training companies. When we finished school out there, we were physical reconditioning instructors. And we worked with training companies with physical training. And we stayed at Fort Knox for a year, and they decided to send us to Yuma, Arizona. And they wouldn't do it in January and December. They waited to May and June when it was hot and out over. And they sent us they sent us to Yuma, to the Yuma test station. And in Yuma, it was hot. We stayed in brick barracks, which were air conditioned, and you could wash your clothes and hang them out on the line, and they would be dry in about 15 minutes. They had a USO out there. They had an outdoor beer tavern. They had an outdoor swimming pool. And to go into Yuma, you had to go on an Army bus. You go into Yuma on an Army bus, and you had to be on time when the bus was going back to the test center. Because you'd be walking across that desert by yourself.
That's the original 90 miles of bad road.
So you'd be on time,
Yeah.
So when you finished the service, you came back to Albion and had your family here, or did you kick around for a while?
Did I do what now?
Did you come back to Albion after you finished your service?
After I finished service, yeah. I came back. My aunt tried to get me to come to Detroit, live in Detroit. I didn't like it. I came back here, came back home.
And so you've been here pretty much since and raised your family here?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I got a whole education beyond. Did you?
I have a question. Because grandfathers and uncles worked at the Malibu, did some of them come up from the south to Albion?
Yeah, my grandparents on my mother's side came from Pensacola, Florida. My grandfather's folks were from Haiti. They came from Haiti to Pensacola. My grandfather, on my mother's side, he had 5 brothers and 1 sister. I met one brother and I met his sister when my grandfather passed away. He passed away in 1944. And then on my dad's side, I can't remember the year. My dad kind of parents. I think his grandfather was from. My grandfather was from Alabama. No, he was from Pensacola too, because it's on my dad's birth certificate. He was born in Pensacola, Florida. So both of my parents, my mother and my dad, were both born in Pensacola.
Do you know what
My mother said that she was 5 years old when they came up here, came to Albion on the train, and my mother went to Dalrymple when she first came here. Yeah, and my Aunt Mattie was the smart one. Because my Uncle Fred and my Uncle Estes Jr., my uncle was, he was pretty heavy, And he told me that him and Uncle Fred and my grandfather, they worked at that Malibu. And they had, Uncle Fred and Uncle Estes told me, they had to give their money to my grandfather to keep Aunt Mattie in college. Yeah. Okay. And another thing my Aunt Mattie, they had, back then they had those test scores. Every year they give you, each school, like I worked at the high school. They had that meat test. Well, they had a test for all the schools in Albion. And West Warren would always finish last. And my aunt, my mother's baby sister, I told her how hurt I was when Aunt Maddie held me back. And my mother's baby sister said she done her the same way when she went to West Warren. My Aunt Arlene.
Okay.
And her son, Bobby went to Michigan State. My cousin Bobby, Best. And Bobby told me that she held him back when he was going to Battle Creek Central. She had him held back. She had one of his teachers, had the teachers to hold him back a year. So there's 3 of us in the family that she had held back.
Excuse me.
I'm glad that she did, because the class of 1951 was a good class.